Regular meeting for Monday, April 2nd to order. Will please stand. Sister Ramona Fallen from the Mother of God Monastery will lead us in prayer.
Since this month is Earth Day, and last month was St. Patrick's Day, I chose a traditional Irish blessing that speaks about the earth. May the blessing of light be on you, light within and light without. May the blessed sunshine shine on you and warm your heart till it glows like a great peat fire, so that the stranger may come and warm himself at it, and also a friend. And may the light shine out of the two eyes of you like a candle set in the two windows of a house, bidding the wanderer come in out of the storm, and may the blessings of the rain be on you, the soft, sweet rain. May it fall upon your spirit so that all the little flowers may spring up and shed their sweetness on the air. And may the blessings of the great rains be on you. May they beat upon your spirit and wash it fair and clean, and leave there many a shining pool where the blue of heaven shines and sometimes a star. And may the blessing of the earth be on you, the great round earth. May you ever have a kindly greeting for those you pass on your going along the roads. May the earth be soft under you when you rest upon it, tired at the end of a day, and may it rest easy over you when at the last you lay out under it. May it rest so lightly over you that you and your soul may be off from under it quickly and up and off and on its way to God. And now may the Lord bless you all and bless you kindly. Amen.
Roll call, Tracy, please.
Arbogast,
Here.
Garnos is absent. Gisselbeck,
Here.
Heller,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Meisenheimer,
Here.
Solberg, Walder,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
and York.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Agenda item number 1 is the recognition of the Finance Office staff for receiving the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association for the 2007 City Budget Document. This award represents a significant achievement that reflects the commitment of the mayor, the council, and the staff to meeting the highest principles of governmental budgeting. In order to receive this award, the city had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. These guidelines are designed to assess how well the city's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. Budget documents must be rated proficient in all 4 categories to receive this award. The city of Watertown is one of only 2 cities in the state of South Dakota to receive this recognition, and this is the 20th consecutive year that Watertown has been a recipient of this award. An achievement of this significance requires the effort and cooperation of all the city departments involved in the budget process. But at this time, I'd like to especially recognize the Finance Office staff for this outstanding achievement by having the following people please step forward. Shelley Ebers, Ken Locker, Connie Brown, Karen Ryder, Teresa Tesh, and Tracy Turback. Please join me in congratulating our Finance Office team.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Agenda item number 2 is a motion to approve the minutes of the City Council meeting held on March the 19th of 2007. Is there a motion? So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second? seconded by Alderman Solberg. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is an application for the temporary transfer and return of a retail, on-sale liquor license owned by Little T's Incorporated as follows. And this is for the NRA banquet. A is for the period beginning at 5 o'clock p.m. April the 19th, 2007, and ending at 1 o'clock a.m. April 20th, 2007, from 1300 9th Avenue Southeast to 1910 West Camp Avenue. We'll begin with the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to the issue? Yes, sir. You can identify yourself up at the mic.
My name is Stan Lamb. Actually, I came here for another reason, but I see this is on the agenda, and I can't. I guess I can't be here and not speak to it. Personally, I was opposed to the county commissioners allowing alcohol to be served at the Extension Center complex. And so with that in mind, I would be here to ask that you not transfer a liquor license for this particular event. It appears to me that we can, there's been a lot of activities held at the Extension complex. A lot of people have attended there, and they've had a good time, successful events without alcohol being served. So I would ask that you decline the transfer, and your consideration would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak to the issue?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nick Hendries. I am very much opposed to the alcohol being served in these situations. You have children and you have adults. And we have places for adults for their liquor. And this serving this liquor and these children are out there. So you tell me that the children aren't getting the liquor, but they're seeing their folks drink and they seeing their folks drive home. And I think this is a real bad situation. I think this should be stopped, and I would hope that you would consider my request.
Thank you, Nick. Would anyone else like to speak to the council on the public hearing on this issue? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go for council action. Is there a motion to either approve or disapprove the transfer?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Wilson to allow the transfer. Mr. Wilson?
Correct.
That's correct. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderman Heller. Any further questions or discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
When we first started doing this several years ago, we did it for the purpose of one organization to have an activity because we didn't have a place large enough to facilitate them of a place that had a liquor license as a business. Now we do, and we still continue to do this. I'm not quite sure exactly what the rationale is behind that. Could any of the council members tell me, or whoever accepted the application?
Any other comments from the council?
Stanton, maybe, could you clarify, this is for adults only, isn't it? Are there going to be children at this event, NRA? Do you know?
I confess I don't know who's eligible to get a ticket and attend the event.
Well,
but-
one of the NRA's biggest activities anymore is their Kids' Day. Now that's one of the huge activities of the NRA. So if they're not there, they're at least planning for that activity.
Well, and I certainly don't want my remarks to persuade the council in any way, but certainly at Mr. T's, I believe that's the location that this is being transferred from. Certainly, children can go in with their parents and have a meal, and there's alcohol being served. They're just transferring the location to the Extension Center, perhaps because it's got more seating capacity. I don't know, but certainly the same kind of activity that could go on at the applicant's location is just going to be happening somewhere else.
My question was, it's going to be going on city property, county property, whatever, and we're making a special exception to transfer somebody's business liquor license there, And the reason we started doing this in the first place several years ago is because several groups came to us, Ducks Unlimited, NRA, whatever the first original one was, and said there is no place in Watertown that has a liquor license that can facilitate this many people. That's no longer true.
And Mayor, if I could, I don't know that I'll be
Yes.
responsive, Mrs. York, but the action that's before the council tonight isn't a special exception. In fact, a few years ago, in the time that I've been here, the county made application to have their property rezoned so that it is an appropriate location to have these transfers to occur, and the Board of Adjustment has issued a special exception at that location. So this is the step that follows that process. It's zoned properly, it's been given a special exception to applicants that you think are eligible. They can have their license transferred to this location.
And Nancy, it's probably a worthy discussion to have among the council and perhaps the commissioners again. I think it would be probably unfair to the NRA at this stage to change what we've routinely been doing since they've been planning their event. But you're right, we do have an event center now that was built specifically for large gatherings, and so I think it's worthy to have that discussion, but I think right now we need to allow this one to proceed.
Any other comments? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Aye. Let the records show that Alderwoman York voted nay. Moving on to 3B, for the period after 1:01 a.m. April 20th, 2007, the transfer from 1910 West Kemp Avenue to 1300 9th Avenue Southeast. We'll begin with the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to the issue to transfer the license back to Little T's? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. If I have a motion for that, please. So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderman Wilson. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4 is consideration of a petition for the vacation of a utility easement in the Kempesca Dunes subdivision, resolution number 07-19. Sarah, I'll let you introduce it.
Good evening. This resolution vacates the utility easement which is in Lot 6 of Kempesca Dunes subdivision and Lot 1, Block 1 of Kempesca Dunes second subdivision. And this property, which I have shown on the screen, is located west of 33rd Street West and north of 12th Avenue North. And this is Golf Course Road, and this is 33rd Street West. And there will be a road, 12th Avenue North, that's already platted right here. And so this bottom lot is part of this subdivision, and the top lot is part of the other subdivision. It's owned by Carlson Angstrom Developers, and they want to relocate an easement which runs east and west, connecting another easement to 33rd Street, and they want to relocate that to run north and south, which would allow the easement to run into the 12th Avenue, which isn't actually built yet. This would enable them to replat and have a little more space for a building on one or two of those lots. There are no apparent conflicts with the easement vacation, and so the staff does not oppose this vacation request.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll open it up to a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak either for or against the issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. Is there a motion for the approval of resolution number 07-19? So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is the ordinance number 07-10, rezoning a portion of City Park from R1 single-family residential to a C2 local commercial. Sarah, would you do the second reading?
Certainly. An ordinance amending zoning district boundaries by rezoning certain real property from R1 single-family residential district to C2 local commercial district.
Thank you, Sarah. Before we begin with the public hearing, our city attorney, Stanton Fox, wishes to speak to the council.
Oh, Mayor, just provide a little background for the, probably less for the benefit of the council, but for those who are listening. But just to remind everyone, unlike a lot of cities, in Watertown, there's no property that's automatically eligible to make application for a license to engage in the sale or consumption of alcohol. That activity can only occur on property that's not zoned residential or agricultural, and only after a special exception has been granted by the Board of Adjustment. So in Watertown, a property owner first has to have the proper zoning designation before they can even appear before the Board of Adjustment. So the board ultimately gets to answer the question whether a location is appropriate for the sale and consumption of alcohol. So with that background, tonight is only the first of what are likely going to be many additional steps. If approved, this rezoning will allow for a portion of City Park to be eligible for C2 zoning designation. I say eligible because even presuming this ordinance passes tonight, the next step, as I mentioned, is the Board of Adjustment to request a special exception. And presuming that occurs, the step after the Board of Adjustment is for an eligible organization to make an application for a special malt beverage retailer's license. Under South Dakota law, the only eligible applicants for that kind of license are civic, charitable, educational, or fraternal organizations in conjunction with a special event within the municipality. So if this ordinance becomes effective, the property is going to remain zoned R1, and the C2 rezoning is only going to be effective at such time in the future that a special event malt beverage license has been issued by the City Council. So the practical effect, if this passes tonight, is that the property will remain zoned residential except at such times as there's a special event within the municipality and an eligible applicant has been issued that special event malt beverage license.
Thank you, Stanton. We'll begin with the public hearing, and I ask those that wish to speak either for or against the issue to please come to the mic and identify yourself, and I now open it to a public hearing. So if you'd like to speak,
I'll give
Sarah, you'd like to begin?
Yes, I'll start out. The property in question is Stokes Thomas Lake City Park, which is located within the city limits on the shores of Lake Kampesca. And it's shown on the screen here. This is South Lake Drive. The airport is over to the east. And it's about 2 acres, and it's located between the parking lots. There are 3 parking lots that it touches. No buildings are being proposed, and I'll bring up another screen which shows the area to be rezoned with the parking lot here. There's a parking lot here and a parking lot here, so it's surrounded by parking lots and beach. And I have another screen which shows actually where, for the wing fling in particular, now this isn't the only thing that would be possible with this, but here's one event that could use this, and where they would put their beer tent. It's not encompassing the entire site. This is one of the parking lots. There's a parking lot here and a parking lot here, and then they've got one little area here designated for a beer tent.
Thank you, Sarah. Anyone else like to speak to the rezoning? Yes, sir.
Stan Lamb is my name. This is the real reason I came, and I couldn't very well speak to this issue without speaking to the other one. And appreciate your time. When I excuse me, when I think about this, if you recall, it's been almost a year ago, last year in April and May, when the prom season and the graduation season comes around, we had several news stories regarding the tragic death of our young adults in their late teens that lost their lives because of alcohol-related driving and parties that where alcohol was served. I don't know the exact number, but 1 or 2 is too many for me. I think in this particular instance that we have a responsibility to set the example for our youth, no matter what their age, but anybody under 21 is illegal to drink. Set example that we can have social events, we can have events like the wing fling or any such manner without having to have alcohol present. I think it's our responsibility as adults to be responsible adults, so that we can set an example, and hopefully our young people can see that example and follow it and avoid some of these tragedies that we hear about in the news. So with that in mind, evidently I was too late for the first one. Hopefully I'm not too late for this one. I would ask that you deny this rezoning and set the example for our young people that we can have a good time, fellowship, food, good food, whatever, without serving alcoholic beverages. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Anyone else? Mike?
Thank you for the opportunity. I feel a little bit lonesome tonight because one of my council persons is not here to support me. But I want to say back 120 years ago, my great-grandfather came here and homesteaded that piece of property known as Stony Point. Now that property has been open to the public at no cost for those 120 years, with the possible exception of the low 80s when Billy, if you forgot to ask him for permission, he got the red truck after you and ran you out of there, but all you had to do was ask permission. We kept that open and supported that piece of property with our retail sales. Now, I think that I have to go back to a little history here. For example, we now have 2 city parks that pay no tax. We have a county park that pays no tax. And we have a state park that loses money every year. Now you're asking us to compete with that by adding a retail sale into your city park system that is competition with myself, Lunkers, and the lodge. Now, I ask why we think that the city, municipality, needs to get in retail sales business. Even though you're not going to be out there selling the beer, you're going to be collecting a fee for those that bid to have it. And I really think that you should reconsider what you're doing. You're setting a precedent here that further on down the line, we may not just have a spot out there that could be rezoned annually, that'll wind up having a building on it and a snack bar and Mrs. Olson's little thing over there, that she tried that for a lot of years. So it's going to be winding up having to be tax subsidized. And part of those taxes are mine. You imagine how many taxes the Williams family has paid since 1888? We've been a big part of this community. And I don't really feel that the Chamber of Commerce or the park system needs to get into our retail sales competition. And I would appreciate if you would really consider that strongly when you're voting tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else to speak to the issue?
Good evening. My name is Megan Olson, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Watertown Area Chamber of Commerce. First of all, thank you very much for the time and the effort of the city staff, for the council folks that have met with representatives of the chamber and tried to work through this process. A couple of things I just want to bring to your attention off the bat. Let's keep in mind as we're making this decision, alcohol is permitted in City Park. The consumption of alcohol is permitted. This is the chamber's way of controlling the consumption, hopefully controlling the use of alcohol during events such as the Wing Fling. By us having an area quartered off, and as you can see up on the map, it's going to be a small tented area. That's the only place people can consume their beer during the Wing Fling event. They have to come in, purchase the beer, consume it. They're not allowed to walk throughout the park grounds with the beer. On any other given day of the year, you can go to City Park, bring in your beer, sit with your kids on the beach and consume beer. This is the chamber's way of continuing to make it a family event by letting those folks who choose to do that, giving them an opportunity and hopefully controlling that influx of coolers and people bringing in their own beer, hence cutting down the consumption by minors. Minors aren't going to be able to just readily walk up to a cooler and grab a can of beer. They're actually, adults will have to go through the process to be ID'd and consume it within that perimeter. Couple other things, just to talk for a couple seconds. The Chamber of Commerce is adding, or hoping to add this beer garden as an enhancement. You're not going to see tomorrow morning on the front page of the paper, if this passes, Chamber adds beer garden, this is the main reason we're doing the wing fling. It's a small part of what we're adding. As you can see in size, it's not even going to be something that if you don't usually live that lifestyle or you don't consume alcohol, you're not even gonna have to walk by it. We're adding a kid zone, we're adding a second ski show. There's a lot of things we're trying to add to draw people to this community. That's what it comes down to for the Chamber of Commerce. It's about getting people to come to our community, to sleep in our hotels, to fill up their cars with gas, to shop at our retailers, to stop and eat at our restaurants. It's about generating tax revenue for the city, and it's about giving people that live here something to do so they're not jumping on the interstate and heading down to Sioux Falls for that weekend. We need something to draw young people and to keep people in this community. And that is the motivation behind this project, is to make a Watertown a landmark and to give people a reason to come to the city. I'd entertain any questions that anybody might have as far as the planning process or things that the Chamber is planning on doing with the wing fling this year.
Megan,
Yes.
I'm
I think we'll let Roger speak to that.
Well, the chamber came to the Park and Rec Board as the first step in this process. And the petition for the rezoning is signed by the president of the Park and Rec Board. And they voted at I believe their meeting in January, to bring forward this request for rezoning so that the chamber or any other organization in the future would have the opportunity. And I think goes back to Stanton's comments, your action tonight is the first of 3 steps. The last step, you folks decide when a special event malt beverage license would come before you each and every time. You have an opportunity to vote, yes or no to that. But the Park and Recreation Board has supported the request of the Chamber of Commerce in this case, and we are the petitioner for the rezoning.
Thank you, Roger. Yes, is there, John?
I wanted
Sorry,
to just
Sarah.
add to that. The Chamber has a great working relationship with the Watertown Police Department. Last year, when it was an alcohol-free event, we worked with the chief and her staff to decide how many officers we thought would be pertinent to have out and patrolling the event. The Chamber of Commerce pays the hourly overtime rate for the city police department uniformed officers to be out, and we'll have 6 full-time officers out during the hours of entire operation for the event.
Thank you, Megan.
I
Dennis?
have one question for Megan. Do you feel the beer garden is going to enhance the wing fling that much more by having that than if you didn't have it?
That's a good question. My answer to you would be we don't know if we don't try. We had an overwhelming response. I would say 1/3 of the folks that attended last year asked why they couldn't bring beer in, or people coming over from the campground made that request, because that's a normal thing that people do day in and day out at City Park. That's a normal part of camping and boating and going to the lake for a lot of families. We don't know if we don't try. We might not come before you again next year. If it doesn't work for the chamber, if it's more work than it's worth, ultimately the control lies in the council. We're going to have to come back to you folks, prove our salt and make sure that everything is in check.
I would just have one comment too. We do need to keep in mind that we're not voting on the wing fling tonight, nor if there's other people, and I know there's a couple other organizations that have their ear to the ground. We're not listening to any of those requests tonight. We're actually voting on this change in the zoning, so.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, John?
Mayor Fox and City Council members, John Redlinger. I too want to echo Megan's comments and thank Stanton and the staff of the City of Watertown for their help in helping us shepherd this process through. It's been a very much of a learning experience. Roger and the Park and Rec Board as well. I want to just talk about security for a moment. And for those of you that were at the wing fling last year, and I'll just speak to that event, you had to come away from that event feeling very proud of the security presence that we had available that weekend last year. I can assure you that the same presence will be there again this year. And I think we all have that individual responsibility to look out for one another. And whether it's a Twins baseball game sitting in the ballpark at the Metrodome and people are consuming alcohol, or you're at Hot Summer's Night in Sioux Falls and people are consuming alcohol there, Hot Harley Nights. There are so many fairs and festivals now, folks, that have malt beverages as refreshments for the society to partake in if they so wish. And I think this is an enhancement to our event, should you decide to go ahead with it. Some people could care less about it. That's very, very true. Others, it will mean a great deal to them. We know from comments last year there were people who wanted to have a beer with their wings. But I just want to emphasize as clearly as I can that the security that the Watertown Police Department provided our organization last year was top-notch. They did a fine job. I couldn't have been more proud of them. And I can assure you that same presence would be available again this year. Thank you very much.
So I take it the chamber's in favor of the rezoning?
We're in favor.
Okay, very good. Let's stay focused on what we're talking about. Is there anyone else here to speak to the rezoning? Yes, Brian?
Brian Kindup, Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Board this year. I'd just like to thank the council and the mayor for their consideration on this topic. We're very respectful of what people are thinking of this. We certainly understand Mr. Williams' sentiments. We have talked to other business owners around the lake that sell alcohol, Lunkers, the Exxon C-Store out there. And they think it would be a nice event, it would be a nice enhancement, and would be a way to get more people out there, and hopefully they could take advantage of it. The Chamber's taken the prudent steps to make sure we got the right insurance, the right enforcement, and to make sure we pull off a quality event. And so we just would ask for your consideration on that, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak to the issue? Yes, Stan. Yes, sir, you may come forward.
I'm a little new at this, but I didn't want to. I guess I didn't realize we were speaking to a particular event.
That's right. We're
But
not.
and we're not. I understand that. But the wing fling was brought up in a discussion. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to attend that last year, but everything I heard about it, it seemed to me it was a rousing success. And there was no alcohol served there. Now, in your diagram here, it shows, I think someone said about a 2-acre area with the little tent in the one corner. What's to keep putting a tent in a different corner from a different establishment, different liquor license, and one in the middle and one over here? You know, I didn't, you know, I don't come here to argue with anyone, but I just feel that those events are going to be able to stand on their own without having alcohol served there, and that's why I would oppose this particular action. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak to the issue? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. May I have a motion then to either approve or not approve the ordinance number 07-10 for rezoning a portion of City Park?
I make a motion we deny it.
There's a motion to deny the rezoning. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further questions or discussion?
I just wanted to say one thing, you know, it's too bad that the wing fling had to get involved in this because it's almost like you're pro chamber or con chamber, which is certainly not true in my case. And these folks all know it. I've been a chamber member probably longer than anybody in this room. Served on every committee, president of that board a few years ago. So it's certainly nothing against the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sure their event would be wonderful. We have to consider the big picture when we're talking about rezoning a piece of land. Just like if it was your R1 neighborhood, we have to be respectful of every R1 neighborhood. And that's where I'm coming from completely. I know we would deal with each one individually. However, things seem to go on and people get into a routine and councils change. And I'm just afraid that things are gonna start falling through the cracks. In a couple of years, we'll just be putting a stamp of approval on these automatically, and something is going to happen that makes us wish. Another thing, you know, we've been talking about this so much, and today somebody called me and they said, tell me the biggest event in Watertown, the one that the retailers are already gearing up for, they're already getting ready for. The Redland event brings more people into Watertown than any event during the course of the year. Not one alcoholic beverage is sold out there. It's a complete success. I understand it's a different location, it's maybe a different crowd, but some people might say to have a successful concert, you have to have a beer. Apparently not. So I just wanted everybody to know where my stand is on that. Certainly not opposed to drinking beer. Certainly respect the people that have bought those licenses and are paying to keep up their establishments. I think that's something that we have to consider.
Any other discussion on the item?
Just a short comment. I think we have to be very careful about the precedent we're setting here. I know the chamber is interested in the wing fling, but if we go ahead and rezone this property, we are in effect, like Nancy said, allowing anybody else who wants to come in and make a license or ask for a license in that location. I think, at least from my perspective on the park board, when we were told about this, we were given the understanding that this was a one-time deal and nobody else would be able to make application for this. Now we come to find out that anybody over the course of the next 100 years can come in and make application and get a license to sell beer on the park. I'm really concerned about the precedent.
Thank you. Are there any comments?
Yeah, of all the people I talked to, and I talked to quite a few of them over this viewpoint, the wing thing was a success last year, and they didn't have beer, and they said it was a family thing. They didn't, and they bring their kids out there, and that's the way they want it this year. They would like to be able to bring their family out there, have their kids out there, and not have to worry about it. Just the fact that you're talking about having 6 officers there hints to the point that it sounds like we're looking for trouble. And we don't want that. We want to just keep it so we don't have to have trouble and make it a good family-oriented thing so that they can all have fun.
Yes, Brad?
On any given weekend, and I spent 4 summers taking care of that park, so I know that park very well. On any given weekend, that whole north end of the park, the whole campground is full of picnickers who are out there with their family, who are having sodas, beers, everything, the whole mixture of it. It's, I mean, what we're asking here is not unusual for what goes on in that park on a regular basis. You know, we have an organization that is attempting to enhance events, bring more people to Watertown, and I think they ought to have the opportunity to do that. This council or any other council in the future has the ability to control whatever event goes on out there. I don't believe that, you know, and these are my friends sitting in the front row who have spoke against this, but I don't believe that you know, the sales that would go on in relation to this are going to be of significance to those establishments. I believe that, you know, the overall result is that you're going to be bringing more people to it. And I think there are appropriate controls put into place that this council is always in charge of what happens in that park. So that's kind of where I stand, and I would like to hear the mayor's opinion on this as well, because I know he's been in the midst of all of these discussions.
Yes, and I want the public to know that the governmental affairs meeting that was last Friday, I brought the subject up. I asked for opinions on that from them, and there was approximately probably 15, 20 people from various parts of our community. Pretty much the consensus was that they felt that it was something that we should try, at least give it a chance for 1 year. If it doesn't work, fine, we can always go back to the way it was, but at least give ourselves an opportunity to compete with the summer event that apparently other summer events are doing, and it's been successful for them. And so as far as phone calls, I've had one phone call. That was late this afternoon, and speaking on some of the issues here. But that was the only phone call I had. And so I guess, because there's 9 aldermen present, I will not be voting on it. But there again, from what I've heard in the community from the people that I have talked to, is that we should at least give it an opportunity to try it. And if not, then go back to the way it was. But that's what I found out. Any other comments?
Once we designate this as C2, it'll always be there. And yes, we do have the option to deny or approve a license. But I guess I was kind of the understanding that this was just for the wing fling, not where another organization could come in. And I think heaven knows that if we approve this, there's going to be many more that are going to come too. And I don't know if I can sit here and deny every one of them.
It was my understanding that once the wing fling is over, that this would revert back to R1. Is that true?
Mayor, may I respond?
Yes, yes.
Just a couple of comments that I've heard, and I refer to my past life when I was council in Rapid City, and they offered these kind of licenses throughout the entire summer. It seemed like a constant every time the council met, they were offering them or issuing them. But the standard under the statute is that the language of the statute says first you have to be an eligible organization, and the license can only be issued in conjunction with a special event within the municipality. So it's either the Park and Rec Board or the City Council that first has to say you're an eligible organization to come before us, and we also recognize that this is a special event that's occurring within the municipality. So Pat, directly to your question, the property is going to remain R1 if this ordinance passes and is published and the 20-day period goes by. It's still going to remain R1. The only time the property is ever going to be zoned C2 is contemporaneous with the issuance of that license. As soon as the license is issued, it's C2. As soon as the license expires, it reverts back to R1. So it will remain residential for 100 years, except on those days when you determine there's a special event and an eligible organization to get the license.
Thank you. Any other
Stan,
questions?
I think you just made one of our points that you said in Rapid City all summer long. It was a constant at all the council meetings. Somebody was there making the application. I really do think that's the way it will be here. And the other thing is, we had a prime example tonight when we changed the liquor license for the NRA. That was just on our agenda as a matter of routine. We're just doing it now. The first one that we did, anybody that was on the council, and there's some of you that were on the council with me when we made that first one, we had about 3 meetings of discussions, a whole lot of conversation, a whole lot of public input, and now people are just kind of putting a stamp of approval on all of them that go by us. It's just the way I mean about complacency setting in, even though we don't mean for it to.
And as boring as this might make my life seem, I do read the council agendas from Rapid City, perhaps out of nostalgia. And when I say it seems like a constant throughout the summer. I would say that in the time I was there, as well as since I've been gone, 97% of the special event licenses are issued at one location. It's the Dahl Fine Arts Center, where people come and look at whatever art is on display. They serve wine and cheese or beer, and it's an opportunity for charitable and civic organizations to make money. If you ever have the time to look at the Rapid City website and click on the current agenda, I think you'll find that 6 or 7 out of all of them, if there are 8 issued, are to the Dahl Fine Arts Center.
I'll get right on that tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the council? There's been a motion and a second to deny the rezoning of the portion of the city park from R1 to the C2 local commercial. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call, Tracy.
Okay, on the motion to deny the ordinance, we begin with Mr. Wilson. Mrs. York?
Aye.
Mrs. Arbogast?
No.
Mr. Gisselbeck?
Aye.
Mr. Heller?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Meisenheimer?
Aye.
Mr. Solberg?
Aye.
And Mrs. Walder?
No.
Count 5 ayes and 4 noes.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 6 is consideration of bids received for a broom attachment for the airport equipment. Eric?
Good evening. Tonight I come in for you to have the council's authorization to approve the bids we received for a broom attachment for our Oshkosh blower. Let me get my sheet here while they're moving out. On March 19th at 10:30, we opened bids that we received for this broom attachment. We only received bids from one dealership, Sheehan Mac and Equipment out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's pretty common for these types of equipments to only have one dealer bid because they represent several different manufacturers. We had 2 manufacturers bid. We had Sweepster and MB bid, and they bid a combination of different lengths of brooms. We'll be talking tonight about the 22-foot broom, which is the maximum broom we can get for the amount of money we have budgeted for this. And it's also the maximum broom width which they supplied a bid for. Sweepster had the lowest bid, but they also took 5 exceptions from the specified specifications. And I'm going to go through 3 of those exemptions tonight because those are the 3 that I've considered the most important and should be recognized as to why we will not accept Sweepster's bid. Number 1, Sweepster had a problem with the specifications that had to do with the broom hitch, which has to do with the weight balance and transfer of this broom. Their equipment has 0 weight transfer system, which basically means that the broom absorbs all the weight of the broom and transfers none of that weight to the vehicle itself. The specifications were written such that some of that weight of the broom had to be transferred to the frame of the truck, and this is done for a couple different reasons, in my opinion, and other airports as well, is that it provides better traction and handling for the truck because there's more weight up front for the steering wheels to actually grab. And this is good for weather, wet, rain, things like that. So that's one of the exemptions as to why Sweepster wouldn't be authorized to win the bid. Number 2 has to do with broom elevation and brush pattern adjustments. Without getting into too much specifications, they use 1 cylinder to raise the broom, and I wanted 2. It's a redundant system. Their system has no redundancy, so I figured 2 would be better than 1. Number 3 has to do with the broom head, the revolutions per minute, and the amount of torque that broom produces. Although the Sweepster broom, they say it has a higher RPM, the torque value provided by that broom is not as good as the MB, which is specified in the specs. So those are the 3 main reasons why I don't believe Sweepster meets the spirit of the spec, and the other 2 exemptions aren't as important as the main 3. So I would recommend to the City Council that they authorize MB for the bid for the 22-foot broom at a total of $74,275, which is $12,725 cheaper than the budgeted amount for this piece of equipment. This won't be an AIP project. It will be all city funds, so I'll take that into account, although that's part of the CIP when we did that last year. And I just need your authorization to go forth and sign the contract and have that piece of equipment ordered.
Is there a motion to that effect, please? So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Item number 7 is the approval to carry over unspent capital budget amounts from the 2006 to the 2007 budget year. That's resolution number 07-22. Tracy?
Thank you. The city's home rule charter allows the council to adopt a resolution that you have before you tonight that will in effect carry over unspent budget funds from the 2006 fiscal year and add those funds to the 2007 fiscal year. The charter permits that in the case of appropriations for capital expenditures only. And the capital expenditures that had remaining funds from 2006 that we're asking you to approve are listed in the resolution. You'll see that the library building fund has a large share of those that we're asking you to carry over. The capital improvement fund has a number of projects that were either in progress or had not yet begun by the end of 2006. The Family Aquatic Center capital project fund, and then there are some funds in the airport for specific projects that are to be carried over. All other capital appropriations from 2006, whether they were spent or not, or whatever remains unspent, would essentially be repealed and lapse. I would ask for your approval of this resolution.
Is there a motion for that approval? Motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussions? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8 is the approval to amend Resolution 07-03 regarding salaries of certain City of Watertown municipal employees for 2007, and that would be Resolution 07-23. Tracy?
Thank you. And as you can see on the resolution, this addresses just one position, that is the city park manager / ice arena maintenance supervisor. There has been turnover in that position just recently, and the new salary amount or range stated here would accommodate the new person in the position. The section 2 of the resolution addresses the housing that is provided for the person that holds that manager position at the campground. And I'm sure if I can't answer any of your questions, I imagine Roger will.
Thank you, Tracy. Is there a motion then for the approval of Resolution 0703 and 0723? So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9 is the consideration of the endorsement of the Veterans Memorial Committee project to display a military aircraft near the memorial in City Park. Roger?
I'm here tonight requesting on behalf of the Veterans Memorial Committee and the Park and Recreation Board the council's consideration to allow the display of a piece of military equipment, preferably a helicopter, at the site of the Veterans Memorial. The Veterans Memorial Committee came to the Park and Recreation Board at its January meeting, made this request, and the following motion was approved by the Park and Rec Board, and that was to recommend to you, the City Council, the Watertown Veterans Memorial Committee's request to display a piece of military equipment, preferably a helicopter, at Stokes Thomas Lake City Park with all associated costs of securing, transporting, refurbishing, and displaying the piece paid by the committee, with the final plans approved by the Park and Rec Board. And we're here tonight to ask for your approval of that. We did talk with the Finance Committee at their meeting on March 20th, and I believe got their blessing. The reason we need your approval is that once this piece of military equipment is secured by the committee and once displayed, the city is then responsible to assume all the responsibility for upkeep and safety of the display item, and that's a part of the application for a piece of military equipment, is accepting that responsibility. So basically identical to what you did at the airport with the display of that aircraft at the entrance to the airport.
Is there a motion to approve the endorsement of the Veterans Memorial for the airplane?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Solberg. Any further questions or discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
The difference on this, Roger, being that that other aircraft is not in an area where children are going to be present, and also the obligation of the city long-term to maintain that in the condition in which it was presented. The only reason I bring this up is I just observed the same thing happening in Arizona, and the city was out a long ways because they had allowed the model to deteriorate, and then were sued by the veterans groups because they had not maintained the aircraft in the manner in which it was supposed to have been maintained. So, you know, you can take this project on, but you need to know that it has to be secured, it has to be maintained, and that's forever. That's my only comment.
Yeah, that is correct. The display method was a concern to the Park and Rec Board because their initial thought was more of a piece of artillery, a tank, that type of thing. And when we expressed our concern about the safety issue with kids climbing on it, that kind of thing, and the need to probably fence it, then they opted for the helicopter or aircraft mounted on a pedestal up out of harm's way so that kids weren't crawling around on it. I do have a picture of a similar display of a helicopter at a Veterans Memorial in Colorado that I'll hand around just so you can kind of see, but that was the idea of mounting it up off the ground and out of harm's way. But you're exactly correct. This council, this city would accept the long-term responsibility to maintain that aircraft just like we have at the entrance to the airport.
And the thing that got them was the authenticity. In other words, the decals and the lettering and the paint and the whole ball of wax. So it got more involved. I think, I'm sure some council out there in Mesa made the same observation, 25 years ago, and then all of a sudden discovered, hey, it's going to cost us $50,000, to bring this model display of the static model back up to display. So just so that you're aware that there's more to it. It's an obvious nice gesture, but there's also the long-term liability.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. That was very informative. Any other discussion on this item?
I have a
Yes.
question for Roger. Do you have any kind of estimate on what it would be to maintain that over, averaging out over every year?
I do not have an estimate. It's going to depend upon the refurbishing process, how good a job that's done. I know the existing plane was painted by a local body shop, and they made it as authentic as the military required. But I mean, it's going to be like paint on your house or anything else. The weather's going to deteriorate it over time, and whether it lasts 10 years or 20 years, I guess I can't predict for you how long that would be.
But it is forever and all time. Is that correct, Roger?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion or questions?
It's just that it's such a beautiful area out there now. I wonder, is this going to get in the way of, I don't know. Oh, you did.
Any other comments?
Mayor, I have one.
Yes.
When they came before the finance committee, yeah, they came and they showed us a picture that's being passed around. And it's clear if you see what they're talking about. The picture, I think it would be a delight. I guess at the time I didn't realize we had to keep it in good shape from now till ever. But having it up on a pedestal, when they said a fence around it, I thought, well, would a fence take away from the beauty? But not the type of fence that this picture shows. I think it'd be a big asset if it's not too costly to maintain.
I have one more question,
Yes.
maybe for Stan. Once if it's put up and everything, do we have to guarantee that it'll always be there? If it does deteriorate to a point where it's too costly to repair and that, are we still stuck with it?
I'm going to have to confess, Dennis, that I have been almost completely uninvolved with any of the conversations involving this thing, and listening to it, I was wondering out loud if you could take like one of those glass domes and put it over the top of it, like you see on an anniversary clock to maybe protect it.
Yeah, I've seen those then.
Mayor, I have a
yes.
I have a comment. We've got the Veterans Committee that have asked the question of putting this piece of military hardware out there. Why can't the city enter into an agreement and have them maintain it?
That certainly would be available to the council. It's just that to make application for the piece, only a county commission or a city council or the governing body has the ability to request the lease, or you actually don't own it, you simply lease it from the federal government. But to be an eligible entity, it's got to be, in this case, the city council or the governing body. Now, you could then, contract for that maintenance with some other organization, but we've got to be the body that requests it.
We have the ultimate responsibility then, Roger, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
One other question. Is there a lease term to it? A number of years, Roger, at this point in the lease, or how's
I
the
have
lease
not
read?
seen a copy of the lease. I'm going by what Military Affairs Committee from the Chamber did when they did the airport plane, and also in what the application request requires. In most cases, they preference perpetuity, to the life expectancy of the unit. So I mean, nobody can expect in 100 years that same military aircraft to still be, looking like it was when it was put up. But I can only read to you what they say is the requirement, and that's the responsibility for upkeep and safety of the display item. Also, just for your benefit, this gives us the opportunity to request that they start looking. Once they find something that's what the committee wants, then there's going to have to be the acceptance or the approval by the council at that point. So at that point, if you feel, unsure of the long-term commitment or see more details of the lease, then I think you would be able to reject it at that point if you so choose.
Good. Okay, is there any other discussion, questions? If not, then all those in favor of the endorsement of the Veterans Memorial Committee project to display a military aircraft near the memorial in City Park, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10 has been pulled to a later date. Agenda item number 11 is approval of the 2008 city budget schedule. Tracy?
Thank you. You have a copy of the proposed schedule in your agenda packet for the fiscal year 2008 budget. And as you can see, the process kicks off about May 1st and really doesn't wrap up till the middle of December. So it's quite a long process. Most of that is concentrated in the summer months. One change that is proposed this year has to do with the council's public budget hearings that are typically held in mid to late August. You'll see on this schedule it's set for August 21st. In past years, we've had budget hearings over 2 nights. Going further back in time, it used to take 3 or 4 nights. The discussion was held following last summer's budget hearings that perhaps we could shorten that up to just one night dedicated solely to budget hearings. And after following up again this spring with the Finance Committee, the committee was interested in trying that anyway and seeing if it was not workable to cover all the budget hearings in one night. And so that's what you have on this schedule for the August 21st, which would be on a Tuesday following a Monday night council meeting.
Okay. Is there a motion then for the approval of the 2008 city budget schedule?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Heller, seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12 is the approval to renew 2 leases of the Han Industrial Park, lots 1 and 8 and lots 5 and 6, the property to Herbert and John Hanton for the 2007 crop year. Stanton?
Thank you, Mayor. They are 2 leases. It's listed as one item under the agenda, but as we've done since the city acquired the property from the Hantons back in 2000, we each year have entered into leases for this property. The portion that covers lots 5 and 6 is that remaining undeveloped lot within the Hanton Industrial Park. It's the stuff that's not occupied by BMS, which was formerly known as Acrotech. That lease is for the 2007 crop year, and according to the terms of the purchase agreement between the city and the Hantons back in 2000, we have to lease this to them at their request for no cash rent. That was one of the underlying terms of the purchase agreement. As in years past, under this lease, the Hantons are required to provide the weed abatement and control, and they agree to surrender this property in the event that during the 2007 crop season, it's conveyed to the development company for an economic development purpose. So as to the lease for lots 5 and 6, it's 2007, and there's no cash rent due and owing. For lots 1 and 8, the lease rate increased slightly. Lot 1 is the hay ground that's just on the west side of Highway 81. It's kind of low-lying property just north of the ethanol plant. And Lot 8 is the portion, it's kind of a triangular shape over near the rail spur, just south or just north and a little west of the Hanton Farm Place. The combined rent total, as I mentioned, is $475 for those 2 lots, and it's a $25 increase from last year. And the Finance Committee has recommended that you authorize the city to enter into these leases.
Thank you, Stanton. Is there a motion then for the approval to renew the 2 leases of the Han Industrial Park?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further questions or discussion? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 13 is consideration of amendments to contracts with Helms and Associates for airport improvements. Herb, you'll take us both through A and B?
I will, thank you. Tonight, I'm here to present two amendments to contracts with Helms and Associates for old airport improvement projects so that the city can close out AIP grants from 2003 and 2005. With both amendments you have in front of you, they show you an increase, but there's some other things I'll want you to consider as you consider approving the amendment. As compared to the total grant for each project, when we discussed this in Public Works, Bob Babcock from Helms and Associates actually discussed the fact that there's a couple of different phases to AIP projects. One's resident engineering, one's consultant administration. In if either one of those parts overruns the original engineer's estimate, then the consultant's required to do an amendment, even if the total engineering contract actually decreases, which in the case of both of these grants, when I'm all said and done, is what happens. First, the rehab of taxiways and environmental assessment. This project was originally bid to be completed in two phases over a period of 2 years. However, when the city received bids, the bids were so competitive, both the city and the consultant was able to convince the FAA and the DOT to allow us to complete both phases in one year, thus saving costs of advertising and another bid opening and additional engineering the following year. What the end result of combining the two projects into 1 year was an addition of 40% of construction work and a 34% increase in resident engineering. However, because this project also included the environmental assessment along with the taxiway project, the consultant never submitted the amendment for residential engineering for that second portion of the job, which, when we're all said and done, ended up in a net result for resident engineering of $7,196.53 increase. However, additionally, because we combined the two projects into 1 year, construction administration was actually a reduction of $2,477.85, and engineering for the environmental assessment actually came in $11,079.96 below the original engineer's estimate. So the net effect for the total grant for taxiways and environmental assessment was a reduction of $6,361.28. This amendment comes with Public Works Committee recommendation for approval. Therefore, I'd request a motion to that effect.
Is there a motion to that effect, please? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number B, Herb?
Okay, second is the concrete hard stand and supplemental wind cones, which was a different grant in 2005. Before this project was completed, some additional joints need to be cut and sealed in the concrete panels of the hard stand. In order to accomplish that, additional consultant design work and correspondence was required, resulting in an increase in construction administration in the amount of $2,258.88. Again, the rest of the story and some more good news. Resident engineering for this grant project actually came in $2,235.96 below the original engineer estimate. So the total increase for this 2005 grant is a total of $22.92. Again, I would request the city council's approval. This does come with Public Works recommendation from approval from their last meeting.
Is there a motion to that effect, please?
I think we can afford that. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any questions or discussions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14 is a motion to authorize the fire department to apply for and participate in the Federal Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. Mike Youngerman.
Good evening. It's time again for us to apply for our Assistance to Firefighters Grant. There has been a few changes from our last year's application. Last year, as a fire department and ambulance, we were only considered or allowed to put in one application. Last year, the Assistance to Firefighters Grant was operated by the ODP, or Office of Domestic Preparedness. This year FEMA will be heading the Assistance to Firefighters grants, and they have opened it up and they recognize that even though we are one department, we have two separate missions, one being fire department, one being ambulance. Excuse me. Along with that, now we actually have the ability to put in an application for vehicles on both ambulance and fire side, and applications for equipment on both fire and ambulance side. So in 2009, we do have a truck budgeted in the CIP, and then also another ambulance. I'd like to try for those this year. It's a 90-10 split. Government or federal government picks up 90%, 10% would be the city. The fire truck is estimated at $480,000, and an ambulance is roughly $110,000 compared to the one we got this year now. On the equipment side, we'd like to pick up a new monitor that is also budgeted later on down the road. And then we're looking at a wellness program for our firefighters, exercise equipment, physicals, things of that nature, and that's about a $30,000 grant application. So my request is a motion to allow us to go ahead and apply for these grants and see where we get.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
So moved by Alderwoman Arbogast, seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Item number 15 is the mayor's appointment of 3 city council representatives to the 2007 Consolidated Board of Equalization. I've appointed Alderman Heller, Solberg, and Arbogast to our Consolidated Board of Equalization. They've accepted, so good luck. Item number 15 is a request for the city council support for the use of Brownfield's funds for site assessment of the former 14th Street Southwest landfill. Herb?
Again, thank you. I received a request last week from Kim McIntosh, South Dakota Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, for the city support for this for a Brownsfield project located at the old landfill, formerly referred to as the 14th Street Southwest landfill. The DENR has actually received a request for funding from the current landowner to conduct Phase 1 and Phase 2 assessments of that site. These assessments will determine what type of environmental impacts may exist in the location and any actions that might be required for cleanup of the site. The South Dakota DENR has $200,000 available for assessment, but will not proceed without such an assessment unless they have support from the local governing bodies. They've asked that I request that support from you. Discuss this issue with the Public Works Committee at the March 27th meeting, and it comes with their recommendation for approval. Therefore, I'd request the council's support of this assessment.
Motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Is there any questions or discussion? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 17 is consideration of business license application from Troy Fierstenoff for a plumbing contractor license. Is there a motion? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 18 is a motion to acknowledge the notice of intent to conduct a raffle by the South Dakota Business and Professional Women's Organization. Is there a motion then to acknowledge the raffle? So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any questions or discussion? You know what they're raffling off, Nancy? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 19 is a motion to approve the bills and payroll and authorize payment. Is there a motion to that effect? So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
2 items are on John Green frame print and a Black Hills Gold jewelry.
Thank you, Tuffy. Yeah. Item number 20 is the open. Yeah, good for you. Item number 20 is the open, and Herb, you'd like to address this in regards to the Kompeska lift station update.
Yeah, just a quick note for our Lake Kompeska residents. The Lake Kompeska lift station rehabilitation project is going to hopefully begin next week, weather permitting. The purpose of this project will be to bring the 21 lift stations around Lake Compesca up to the current design and operational standards. This is an all-summer project. At some point in time, I would assume just about every lake resident will be impacted in some way, shape, or form. What I wanted to let everybody know is, the lake residents specifically, is that the contractor and the city are having an open house this Wednesday from 4 o'clock to 7, or we'll go a little longer if need be, for lake residents to come in and view current construction plans and see what kind of impact may occur at their particular location. So with that, I just wanted to make sure the public knew that.
Thank you, Herb. Also, Herb, would you give us that date again? And this is on another matter of the uptown renovation, that there will be an opportunity for the property owners to meet?
Certainly, this Thursday morning at 8 o'clock here in the city council chambers, Gray Construction and I think Ann Ray Herr and a couple other folks from Bill Riefenberger are going to have the plans here in the council chambers for any business owner uptown that wants to come and see the impact and tentative, at least the tentative schedule, and hopefully they'll have a chance to input on when they would like to see their portion worked on. So the plans will be here Thursday morning here in the council chambers at starting at 8 a.m. I assume they'd like to be done by about 9.
Is that primarily Maple Street?
It's the discussion we had this morning was that the first phase of the project is actually our street here, 2nd Street East. They'll start from the north end and work down to First Avenue South, then move over to Maple, and I believe they're going to start on the north end first, and then move to the south side of Camp second, and then lastly Broadway, and I think that's still up in the air on which end they're going to actually to do first. So if you're a business uptown, you have interest, Thursday morning is certainly an opportunity. If not, then call either Bill Riefenberger or Ann Ray Herr.
Thank you, Herb. Anything else in the open? If not, we'll move to item number 21 is old business. Nothing in there, old business. Item number 22 is new business. Any new business to come before the council? Item number 23 is liaison member reports. Any member reports? We will need to go in executive session for just a short time. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Alderwoman Arbogast. Is there a seconded by Alderman Giselbeck? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We will go in executive session. We will not be taking any action when we come out.